Hi, everyone. This is Heidi St. John. I'm glad you guys have found me at my little corner of the internet. This is the Off the Bench podcast. Today is MailBox Monday, and today I'm going to answer questions from listeners. A lot of questions floating around about what to do when you've got two candidates running for office, both of whom you do not agree with and do not want to vote for. These are complicated questions, and I think we can come up with a solution together. Also, I'm going to give you my list of non-woke cosmetic companies. Thank you to everyone who sent those in. Those will also be published in a blog post. This is going to be a great episode. Stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. Well, I'm glad that you guys have taken a little bit of time to join me. I know everybody's busy. For those of you who are tuning in on YouTube, it's nice to see everybody here. I'm glad that you guys are leaving reviews for the podcast over at iTunes. This really helps us to get traction with the podcast when you guys leave reviews. If you love this show, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. Leave us a 5-star review if you really like the show. That helps other people see the show and tune in. Also, if you are enjoying my friend, Dr. Mark Sherwood, and you would like to have your questions that are related to health answered by Dr. Mark on my show, just go to HeidiSt.John.com/mailbox Monday. We're going to make this a regular feature as it's a huge encouragement to me. And I know it's encouraging to a lot of you as well. All right, I'm going to jump right into your questions today. The elections are right around the corner, right? So election day is November 8th all across the country. The midterm elections, as we like to call them, these are very, very important races. And as many of you know, I have been following them with great interest. Of course, I am right here in Washington State, and I have listed my picks. So for those of you who are in Washington State and you're curious to know how I'm going to be voting, and I've done my homework and I'm going to let you guys know who I'm voting for. You can go to my Facebook page. I probably will also post it on Instagram and certainly at my Heidi St. John for Congress page. For those of you who are new to the show, I ran for Congress here in Washington State, and we gave a good run at it, and we did not quite make it through the primary, but we got nearly 37,000 votes here in the state of Washington. And so I'm very grateful for those votes, and I'm honored to be able to give you my endorsements and my recommendations for the state of Washington. And so I will be doing that, and you guys can check those out. Marissa in Connecticut, she is concerned about the governor's candidates. Listen to her letter. She said, Heidi, I've been praying regarding my vote, and I'm feeling horrifically torn. I'm 100% unapologetically pro-life. I live in Connecticut and work for a pro-life faith-based pregnancy center in Massachusetts. When it comes to elections, I always look first to where the candidate stands on life because, as Seth Gruber says, you can't get the right to life right, then you won't get any other rights right. Boy, Seth, that was a mouthful. In Connecticut, the two major party candidates, Ned Lamont, who's the Democrat, and Bob Stefanski, who's a Republican, are both pro-choice. Lamont wants to make Connecticut an abortion sanctuary state, which we already are, basically. And Stefanski has said in his ads not to worry. He's pro-choice and for women's health care. He has no plans to restrict abortion access in Connecticut. Basically, when I dug deeper, his beliefs are abortion for thee, but not for me. I was considering just doing a write-in vote. I'm sick just thinking about voting for a spineless man who won't stand for the rights of the life of the unborn. Unfortunately, I also know if Lamont gets in, he intends to remove the religious exemption for vaccines for children in Connecticut, requiring the COVID vaccine for children. I know I have to follow the Holy Spirit's leading. I just want to get your feedback on this. All right. So listen, here's the thing, Marissa. Like many people in the United States right now, you are faced with a very difficult choice. We don't always get what we want. This is why primaries are so very important. And unfortunately, a lot of Christians sit the primaries out. And when you sit the primary out, you wind up with two eventual winners that go on to the general election. Sounds like you are facing two that you don't care for there in Connecticut, but you answered your own question. And so I'm going to read it back to you. And here's what you said, and I quote, unfortunately, I know if Lamont gets in, he intends to remove religious exemptions for vaccines for children in Connecticut, requiring the COVID vaccine for children. All right, so that would do it for me. So basically, you have a binary choice in Connecticut. You have a choice between two people that you don't like. You're choosing between the lesser of two evils. And in this case, I would plug my nose and I would actually be very loudly opposed to Stefanowski and his opinions on abortion. Obviously, he clearly doesn't know what it means to be a conservative because a conservative platform is unapologetically pro-life. This is the problem that we're having around the country in many of the congressional and Senate races where people who are running as Republicans are not really adhering to the Republican platform. And it's going to get us into trouble unless we start changing the way we do things. But if it was me and I was in Connecticut, I would be voting for Stefanowski. I wouldn't like it. I would make my position loud and clear wherever I could, because in just a couple of years, you're going to have an opportunity again to primary this guy and run a real Republican. And in the meantime, I would never put my children at risk from a lunatic who wants to remove the religious exemption for the COVID vaccine for children. You guys have heard me talk about this before. Children are not at risk from COVID. I don't know why the corrupt CDC is suggesting that children should have to get this particular shot. But you heard me talking about this with Dr. Mark Sherwood on my show on Friday. This is a terrible choice that you're being faced with, but I would be voting for the Republican, seeing him as the lesser of two evils, even though his opinion on abortion is 100% contradictory to yours and to mine. Nicole in Pennsylvania, she said, Heidi, I've been listening to your podcast for a couple of years, but almost always skipped any podcast with homeschool in the title. That's all right. I understand. People do that to me all the time. The reason is this. We have our children in a wonderful private Christian school that is a ministry of our church. The school lines up with all of our Christian doctrines and values that we want taught to our kids. I've never thought that homeschooling was necessary for us since we have this Christian school available. I have a story similar to that. In the past month, I've been rethinking how education could look for our family and have been devouring any of your past podcasts talking about homeschooling, along with a couple of other homeschool podcasts I have found. My question is this. You talk a lot about homeschooling versus public school. We would never put our kids in a public school. That would never be an option. But what about homeschooling versus Christian school? I haven't heard you reference this yet in my searches. Would you speak to how a family would go about making this decision? All right. So actually, you may have skipped it because you saw the word homeschool in the title, Nicole, but I have spoken to this topic many times. And I relate the story of my husband and myself years ago when we moved to Vancouver, Washington. We were given the option, because he was a pastor, we were given the option to enroll our children for free in the private Christian school that was a part of the church that my husband was on staff at. And I thought to myself initially, this is amazing. We've just won the education lottery. This is the holy grail of education. I'm going to be able to put my kids in a Christian school, and we are going to be able to afford it because it's going to come as a perk of my husband being on staff for this large church. What's interesting, though, to note, and again, I know people are going to be listening to this and they're going to be upset with me, but this is just my experience. This is my opinion. I'm not dogging people that have their kids in Christian schools. I think Christian schools are 100% better than any public school on the face of the earth, any day of the week and twice on Fridays. But I believe that homeschooling is the gold standard. And let me tell you why. I graduated from a private Christian school, and I had a good experience at the private Christian school by and large. But there were still issues that happened inside that school that I think would have been better addressed if the parents of those students had been more engaged in the lives of their children. At the end of the day, the parents are responsible for the upbringing of their children. At the end of the day, parents are responsible for the teaching and training of their children according to the Bible. And the thing I love about homeschooling that I think makes it a better choice even than a Christian school if you can do it. And again, this is not me saying the Christian school is bad. I don't believe that it's bad. I just believe that homeschooling is a better option. I think when it's done in the right way, it creates healthier, stronger families. And I think it's good for the community and ultimately good for the country and good for the culture, because it gives you something that every other system of education steals from you. And that is time. You never get those hours back that your kids are gone from you. And so when your kids are in school, they are away from you more than they're home. The influences that they are around during school, you can't really ever fully know about. And most of the time, we don't hear about it until we're way far down the road. And so I could sit here and tell you story after story after story of things that happened when I was in a private Christian school, still a better option than the public school. But my husband and I chose to homeschool our children even over a free option that we had to put our kids in a private Christian school. And so that is just my opinion. And I am not anti-Christian school in any way, shape, or form. I just believe that homeschooling ultimately is a better option. So I hope that helps you with your decision. Keep me posted. We've got an anonymous listener in Colorado who asks a question about the Republican running for governor there. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'll read her question. All right. An anonymous listener in Colorado says, "Hi, Heidi. Elections are drawing near, and in the state of Colorado, we have a tyrant for a governor." You know what? Listen, anonymous, we have a tyrant here in Washington state. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Cato Institute rated Governor Jay Inslee of Washington number 50 in the group of governors for the United States. In other words, Washington state has the worst governor in the nation. So I feel your pain. Unfortunately, the Republican who is running against him has stated on her Instagram recently that abortion is complicated and not black and white. She does not support late-term abortion, but she does support it to a certain extent. I'm concerned with some of her other policies as well, but everyone is saying she is a much better option than what we currently have. After participating in the GOP General Assembly last spring, my husband and I were appalled at what went on there. We actually support the constitutional candidate, but everyone is saying that voting for her is throwing away our vote. If Republicans continue down the path of voting for the party, I don't see how this will ever change. Okay, so after the elections are over, I'm going to have a whole lot more to say about this. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to go into it right now, but I believe that the Republican Party in the United States of America is in dire trouble. Based on what I saw running for Congress for 18 months, and I'm going to be writing about this and speaking about it, we have a huge issue, an issue of conscience inside the Republican Party in that we don't know who we are anymore. We've forgotten the party platform. Anyone who says that they are pro-abortion should not be allowed to run as a Republican because it dilutes the message of the Republican Party. The Republican Party was the party that banned slavery, by the way. It was the party of Lincoln. We have always been the party that supports life. The Democrats have always been the party that goes against life, that goes against parental rights, that it stands for open borders and open fentanyl dealing right here in the United States of America. We've got all kinds of issues because we have a crisis in leadership. And Republicans who believe, when you said that you were at the GOP General Assembly and you were sick at what went on there, that was exactly my experience here in Washington state. And what is happening in the Republican Party here makes me sick as well. Now, we've got to, there is a way to deal with this, but that way is not happening right now. This is why the primaries are so important. We have decided, it seems like, that a lot of people, and this is absolutely true of committed conservatives, are sitting out the primaries. And so we still have a two-party system. And as much as I would like you to vote for the constitutional candidate, the reality is that constitutional candidate probably has absolutely no shot at winning. And then you throw your vote away for the one who probably can win the race. But if we start voting for the person who we really, 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 really like, even though they have no shot at winning, what's going to happen is you're going to get a Democrat in that seat. I guarantee it. The Democrats are very good at uniting behind one candidate. The problem is that we have diluted the Republican Party to the point where I believe it is unrecognizable. It was certainly unrecognizable to me as a congressional candidate in many places across Southwest Washington as I was running for Southwest Washington's 3rd congressional district. And we actually ended up in the primaries here. We have a Republican and a Democrat running, and I will vote for the Republican. I'm going to be voting for Joe Kent, who I ran against. I will be voting for him. But I am discouraged and dismayed at the process by which we would assume that somebody should be allowed and moved into a seat of position of authority without any real history of conservatism. And this is what's happening all across the United States. Another great example can be seen in the state of Pennsylvania. They have a terrible choice there now. You got a choice of Mehmet Oz. This is a guy who believes in late-term abortion. He is on record as saying that he supported sex reassignment surgery for minors back when he was one of Oprah Winfrey's favorite doctors in the United States. Now he's running against Fetterman. Fetterman's got so many problems that you can't even count them 100 ways from Sunday. And so the only choice that you have, unfortunately, in Pennsylvania, because you decided to ditch Kathy Barnett, who I think, frankly, would have been a much better candidate who understood conservatism. The only choice you have now is between Dr. Oz, Mehmet Oz, and John Fetterman. And Mehmet Oz, as much as I don't like him, he's the choice. Why? Because we screwed up in the primaries. Primaries matter. The primaries matter. We have got to do a better job of vetting our candidates. That means that if somebody wants to run for office, they should have a history of standing behind and agreeing with the Republican platform. And so far, that hasn't been important to voters. We are looking more at personality than we are at policy. I think it's going to come back to bite us 100 different ways from Sunday. But, and I know that I sound passionate about this, and it's because I am. I just spent 18 months running for Congress. And as I said, in my state, I feel similar to how I feel about what's happening in Pennsylvania right now. But I am going to vote for the guy that I ran against in the primaries because it is the right thing to do. It's a better thing to do that than to give that seat to somebody like Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, who is an avowed communist and wants abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy with absolutely no restrictions at all. And so we see things very differently. The Republican Party needs an overhaul, and it needs it pronto. And so in the meantime, you guys, vote for the person. Unfortunately, this is where we are in a lot of states, not everywhere, but in a lot of places. So this is what happens when we dilute the Republican Party platform. And that's what we've been doing now for decades and decades. And what I heard out on the road as a congressional candidate has changed me forever when it comes to talking about elections. In the meantime, and I'm gonna end on this note today, and then I'm going to talk about woke cosmetic companies because I've got good news for you. I'm going to end on a good note today. I also want to say it's very important. Even if you are not crazy about the choice that you have, it is the only choice that we have right now, right? So in 2016, I voted for Donald Trump for no other reason than I did not want Hillary Clinton anywhere near the White House. In 2020, I voted for Donald Trump because I actually liked his policies as president, and I was thrilled to vote for him again. But right now, we need to vote for the person that we believe is most closely aligned to what we believe. And you've got two choices. One of them's going to be farther away from you. The other one's going to be a little bit closer. But no matter what happens, you guys, pray for these people. I'm going to vote in the election here in just a couple of days. And I'm going to be voting for some people that I wish I didn't have to vote for. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to vote for them. And I'm going to pray for them. And I'm going to want them to succeed. Because when we want people to fail, we want America to fail. And so you can actually pray some of these guys are going to get into office. I think this is absolutely true of Mehmet Oz and other people like him. Pray that God would get a hold of their heart and change their heart and change their opinion. That can happen too. In the meantime, I'm going to encourage you not to throw your vote away. All right, you guys, here we are. I'm super excited. Cosmetic company recommendations. I asked, and you guys have absolutely come in and saved the day. So you heard me talk last week about my absolute disgust with Ulta Cosmetics, Sephora, a lot of these big box stores. I think I've set foot in Target maybe three times in the last 4.5 to 5 years. These disgusting organizations who are injuring our children. And if you don't believe me, all you got to do is go into Target at any given time, but particularly in the month of June, and you will find them advocating for trans kids. You will find them selling clothing that can hide a boy's genitals when he thinks he might be a girl. This is a disgusting company. Don't give them your money. Ulta is a disgusting company. Don't give them your money. And instead, I'm going to give you some cosmetic company recommendations. And also, I'm going to link back to this at HeidiSt.John.com so that you can actually get to those links and check them out for yourself. So Lynn in Michigan and Rose in Florida said, hey, Heidi, you got to check out Adele. They are a sponsor for many other websites, and they are Christians. Check out her website and the journey that brought them to creating this company. I love that. I'm absolutely going to check it out. We are actually looking for some new sponsors as we are coming up on 17 million downloads here at the show. And we're going to be looking to change up our sponsorships here pretty quick. So I'm excited about that. Trisha in Colorado said cosmetic companies that aren't woke, Lemongrass Spa and Keep Me Safe Organics. Jamie in Iowa said, check out Toop. I don't even know how to say that. How do you guys say that? Toop, Toups, Two, if it's French. Check out Two and Company. An amazing bonus. It's organic. Kathy in Idaho said, I'm a consultant with Mary Kay and have been in management with them for over 30 years. My goodness. In my management role, with Mary Kay. I met and was trained by Mary Kay Ash, the founder and of Mary Kay Cosmetics, and a Christian woman. It was a pleasure to know her and use her products. I love them and use only those. I know the work and can absolutely sell them with the utmost integrity. A listener in Oklahoma again mentioned Lemongrass Spa for cosmetic products, Faithful and True Ministries for help with the porn addiction. So thank you guys for that. Also, another person is recommending Lemongrass Spa. So I'm going to check this out, you guys. My goodness. And then Sharon in New Hampshire, she said, here's some beauty ideas for true women. I love this, Sharon. I'm going to read your note to me. She said, as always, Heidi, thank you for stepping forward and speaking the truth. In regards to the Ridiculous Ulta podcast, I always recommend Crunchy Skincare and Makeup. Crunchy is a company based out of Florida that prioritizes safe, toxin-free ingredients, eco-conscious packaging, and high-performance products. They help women who don't want to compromise their health for their beauty or their beauty for their health. I love that. So there's another company that we're going to talk about. And then Lindsay, Nebraska, same thing. She said, Heidi, when I heard about your headaches last week, I actually emailed to tell you about my favorite toxin-free company, Crunchy. Not only is it not woke, it's the best, clean, truly toxin-free skincare and makeup company out there, founded by two women who are still both intimately involved with all the operations of the company. And they believe that women, I love how you put that in all caps, deserve quality products that perform without compromising their health. So I love that. I think it's fantastic. And I'm going to end by saying I have used for many, many years Young Living's line of cosmetics, also organic. It doesn't have any of the disgusting chemicals in it. Savvy Minerals by Young Living. This is the makeup that I use almost all the time, including my foundation. It's my favorite foundation. And I love it. So you can check that out. And you guys know that I am a massive fan of Young Living and the essential oils and the supplements there. And if you want to join my Young Living team and hear about, all the ways that we take care of our bodies using essential oils and using things on our skin that are actually good for us, you can check that out at HeidiSt.John.com/oils or thebusymom/oils. And I will link back to all those things in the show notes today. You guys, thank you so much for sending me in these great suggestions. We're going to continue to build that list. And so if you've got more that you would like added to it, then go ahead and email me or reach out to me at HeidiSt.John.com/MailBox Monday. You will find that there is a form there that you can fill out, and we will add, as soon as we check them out, make sure they're legit, we will add that to the recommendations from the Off the Bench podcast. You guys, if you've got a question you'd like me to answer, or you'd like a question answered by my friend, Dr. Mark Sherwood, when he comes back on the show, again, the place to do that is HeidiSt.John.com/MailBox Monday. I want to thank you guys for visiting our sponsors, including MyPillow. These organizations are American companies, and every time you purchase from them using the promo code Heidi, that helps support this podcast and keep it on the air. Have a great day, you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you back here again tomorrow at the intersection of faith and culture. For more encouragement, visit me online at momstronginternational.com.